Hi guys, and welcome to Alistair Davies Golf. Today's video is part of the transition series which I have done, and today's video is going to focus on the arms, hands and club during the transition phase of the golf swing. Part 1 and 2 concentrated on the feet, knees and hips. Part 3 was on the trunk and the head, and this part 4 is going to work on the arms and club. So hopefully you've watched the other parts of the series, and hopefully this all makes sense and adds to the series you watched already. Okay, so the arms, club and wrist in transition. In elite players, this is what I tend to see. Not saying this is the only way to do it, but in elite players, this is the commonalities that I see them do. So as you would have seen from the other videos, the backswing and transition period starts 0.1 or 0.2 seconds before we complete the backswing. Now obviously with the arms, they are the kind of last thing to complete the backswing. So this will be a much tighter phase. There'll be hardly any difference in time between the start and finish of these movements. So if we go to the top of the backswing, ideally this is how we'll be worn up. What you're going to notice here is the left arm is fairly compressed, right, or connected to my left pec, and that's where it should be. Obviously we'll see some golfers with a very high arm shape, but in a general orthodox fashion we'd see the left arm compressed, and as this compresses it creates a little cycle of a straight shortening cycle, and then what happens, the arm kind of catapults itself away from the chest like this, and that helps to create a little mini X factor and X factor stretch, if you like, in a little recoil fashion, and it helps to create power and speed. So the best golfers in the world, we see this kind of stretch and catapult effect off our body. And the common mistake we see with a lot of players in this transition phase is they pull the hand straight down, and what that does is steepen the shaft angle and makes it very difficult then to get the club laying down correctly and getting the club to travel on correct plane. Now the players that tend to do this will then tend to hang back through impact and shallow the shaft by using the body in a less efficient way. Still can be successful, but less efficient, and might cause some injuries to the lower back, in my opinion. So what I'd like to see is the hands work more horizontally away from the body like this, and the club lay down so the club gets in the elusive slot, and then from there we'd rotate and turn onto the ball using our body and arms in a much more connected fashion. So you might say we lose a little bit of connection in this split second of transition, and then get connected and rotate through the golf ball to create the perfect transition. Now the wrists are going to go from a fairly straight position or a flat position, and ideally they would go into a slight bit of flexion. So as the hands go away, the wrists will go in a slight bit of flexion. This also creates a little bit of shallowing of the shaft, and we'd also see the wrists kind of cock a little bit more, so the shaft would kind of narrow ever so slightly in an ideal world. And all this is again an attempt to create more lag, allow the club to settle onto plane and store up that energy ready to explode onto the golf ball. The club, you'll see it kind of shallow and change shape, so it's all kind of connected to the arm shape. The right shoulder will externally rotate ever so fraction, and the right elbow will point more towards the golf ball, like so. And one of the best ways of describing it for a simplistic point of view is if I go throw the golf ball, you'll see how my arm shape changes. Obviously if I throw it like I'm trying to throw it powerfully and like a kind of cricketer would throw the ball, you'll see how the arms and shape and the body move in the way that I would see as a successful and powerful motion. So it can be quite a natural action. When I start talking about external rotation and the wrist going into more flexion and the hands and arms catapulting away from the body, it sounds very techy. But it can be very, very simple. We just think, how would we throw a ball? And that's kind of what we'd want to see. So one of the best exercises I'd get players to do would be just to go to the top of the swing like this and kind of pump the arms and try and get the right elbow to point to the golf ball. Try and get the butt of the club to point above the golf ball. So these two lines there, above the golf ball is also okay. So we go to the top, we pump into this position once or twice, and then on the third go we'd hit the ball as normal. And that would give us the feels we'd want. There are various other drills you can do, and loads of drills I like, and they'll be covered in some other videos. Today, really, I want to talk about mostly about how the arms work and what their role is during this transition. So let's try and hit a ball. So practice that. I try to feel that transition as much as I can. And again, my normal swing would be very slightly cross line. So the transition period, I'm always fighting that if I can. But in an ideal world, we definitely want to see this kind of compression feel and moving away feel to allow the club to shallow correctly. If we wanted to hit a straight shot or a draw shot. For a fade pattern, we might well allow the club to come this way a little bit for sure. But that would be the common faults I'd see by the average golfers, and this would be the common fix I'd want to see for the average golfers. So, other little drills you can do is one-handed and pull this arm this way. And feel almost like you're trying to catch something in the right hand. That'll give you the feeling of the shallowing action and the arm shape. Again, we don't want the elbow into our body, we want the elbow in front of our body if we can. Into that throwing shape. That is ideal. Okay, so we've seen now how the arm should work in the transition in the golf swing and the golf club and wrists. So just to summarize what you need to do, the arms and wrists need to work linearly away from the body after they've compressed and moved away in this catapult effect to allow the club to lay itself down to create the right kind of lag and direction of swing we would want to create a successful golf shot. Obviously there is more than one way to be successful, but in order to create the most power and looking at how the best players move in this area of the golf swing, this would be my recommendations of how you would move. If I had a player that moved another way and was successful, then by all means I wouldn't change it. I'd work with what they've got and only change it if it didn't give them the desired outcome they would want. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please click like down below. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I've got regular content every single week, 3 videos per week. And also make sure you post any comments you have, especially if any future videos you'd like me to cover. And thanks for watching.